Life Digital Podcast. How is everyone doing this evening? What is up? We're back at you every week, Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. We're on Tuesday today, on time. We're here with you. Make sure you head over to our Twitter at No Life Digital, also our website, nolife.digital. All of our stuff gets posted up over there. You can subscribe to the podcast, check out all our videos, look at all the articles, and yeah, cool. What's up, dudes? What's going on? How was your weekends?
Yo. Final Fantasy 7 Remake. That was my weekend. And by that, I mean that was my Monday.
Yeah, they came out Monday, right?
Yeah. What was my weekend?
Not much. Mine was.
I finished Judgment. That's what I did.
All right, give me the final score of Judgment.
I give it a solid 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
I rank it lower than Yakuza Kiwami 1 and 2.
Wow.
Because I really loved Yakuza 1 and 2. The ending of Judgment gets a little... It gets a little long. The trailing sections are a little too many. The chasing sections are fun. I wish there were more of those than there were of the trailing parts, where you like trail a suspect. The investigations were interesting, but sometimes they were kind of very trivial, and I would like to see in a future sequel like update that more. But other than that, like very fun. And the other con versus like the Yakuza series. The Yakuza series are like known for very over the top boss fights where like they get like kind of like multi health barred, lots of crazy things, some CT, some quick time events happen. But like there's always the actions is like over the top, 11 out of 10 action. Only maybe like 3 bosses in Judgment were like that. And I get that it's more bringing it down to like more down to earth. But that's kind of why I like those games. I like the over-the-top, wild, silly, ridiculous fights. Like, there was only and even the final boss has, like, 2 separate health bars. And even he was kind of, like, I don't want to say easy, but definitely have played against harder bosses in Yakuza series. But if you like Yakuza, you'll love Judgment. It's a really good game.
I've been thinking about it. I've been looking for like a story-based kind of simple game to get into.
The twists and turns were really good, and the final climax is pretty. Like when the villain shows up, and you're just like, if you called it, you're like I called it. I was like popping off. I was like, I knew it. I knew that was the bad guy.
Did you turn on the Cuphead soundtrack and start strolling down the block?
No, the battle music's fine. Yakuza's like got some good tracks, but Judgment doesn't have like the level of music that Yakuza has.
What about you, Jerry? Anything interesting this weekend?
I'm still eating.
Here we go. Swallow it. All right, we'll come back to you. I was playing. All right, let me ask you guys this. Have you guys ever played Shadow of the Tomb Raider? No? Of course you didn't play it. Because no one played it.
I played the original Tomb Raider. Like not the original, but like the new, like the Uncharted versions.
Yeah.
I played that one. Rise of the Tomb Raider is still on my wish list, but it goes on sale all the time.
Yeah. Square Enix just had a big sale. That's why I picked it up.
And then Shadow of the Tomb Raider is the third one.
Yeah.
Which also goes on sale like all the time.
It's fucking great, dude. It's phenomenal. It's a great game. It's like an Uncharted experience. The story is great. The graphics, some of the best graphics in a game that I've seen. It's optimized for PC. DirectX 12 is like beautiful on it. I mean, it's just such a good underrated game. This didn't sell well because I think the adventuring stuff kind of pushes people away, and it kind of came out around the same time Spider-Man did, and I think that the Spider-Man kind of took all of its wind out of its sails. But it's on sale now, and I think if you're looking for an Uncharted experience, Definitely pick it up because it is excellent. I had a blast. You can finish it in a weekend. They have a bunch of DLC that comes with the new sale. I haven't dug into any of the DLC yet, but it's so fun. It's a great game. There's great combat mechanics, great stealth missions, and yeah, so surprised by it. So surprised. I think I might actually do some sort of video on it because I think more people should play it. It's just I found it so underrated. I was playing through it and like listening to the story, and they have like real historians that come in and they model like all the cool little things that you find based around like the real Mayan and Incan and I mean there's a story of like how these Christian missionaries came, and it's just a really fascinating story that's for the most part pretty historically accurate. But it's like all the little secrets and stuff that you find that's really cool. And I found myself wanting to explore just to find more like artifacts. So I feel like the puzzles were pretty simple. They don't take much thought to kind of get through.
That's one of the things I liked about like the older Tomb Raiders, where they were very like the combat was a thing, but it was like a secondary to the puzzles.
Yeah, that's kind of here, except they're not. They're more focused on. They're more focused on like what's the word?
Like Uncharted puzzles.
Yeah, they're more focused on like movement than they are so much like figuring out what goes where. I will say though, I was playing on normal difficulty. I think you should play on the hardest difficulty because then it gets rid of all of like the clues. So there's like certain things that tell you where you can jump to, and there's certain things that tell you like what you can run across, and sometimes that shows you where to go with your puzzles. If you turn all that off, it becomes I can imagine it's a lot more fun.
But how will game journalists play it?
Good point. I don't know why I left it on, and I kind of just wanted to play just to get through the story because I found the story so interesting. But the stealth and the combat was fun too. It was actually the puzzling was probably the least of my favorite part. And there's also like the originals. There's a lot of swimming, and I just don't like swimming missions in anything. I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. Just like the fact that you have to like manage your breath is just so annoying. And this is Tomb Raider, so where there was a lot of that. Other than that, everything else is excellent, and it's extremely underrated. If you can get it right now for $20, which I think is on sale with all the DLC, I do think it's worth it, especially if you're looking for something to play that's has more of a story and a little bit more, of a blockbuster quality to it. Because they did, Square Enix did a great job, and some of just the best voice acting and best character modeling I've seen in a game. It's really, really good looking. But that's what I played over the weekend. I played that. And then that's it. That's all I did.
I think we should include Monday.
Yo, let's get into that then. Final Fantasy VII, the demo came out. Were you aware that this was coming out?
So a lot of people that I talked to, and I was of the mindset that the original release date of March 6th, or maybe today, March 3rd. I don't remember what the original release date was. I knew it was either today or Friday. That there was the possibility of a demo coming. Just to kind of like be as a thank you for the waiting for the delay. And here's like first chapter or whatever. Usually this is like the same demo. Probably this is more of a more polished demo than the demo people have been playing of this section of the game a couple months ago. But I thought something was going to come. I didn't realize it was going to come on Monday on the 2nd at like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
It was like mad early. Like I didn't know about it until I got to work and looked at Twitter on my phone.
Yeah, I saw it all over YouTube, and I was like, "Oh shit! I had no idea they were doing this."
Yeah, so I downloaded it as soon as I got home on Monday. I downloaded it. 7 gig demo for what is essentially if you play through it quick enough. If you play through it quick enough, you can play through it in a half hour because you can skip cutscenes, which confirms that there will be cutscene skip in the main game. Which, as somebody who might potentially speedrun this, gotta love cutscene skips.
Yeah. But I watched it with like all the cutscenes and just took it in, and it was a little less than an hour. I think it was like 15 minutes. I'm gonna ask,
did you have a PS4 Pro?
Yeah, but I played on regular PS4.
Okay, so I have my regular PS4 and I played that on there, and honestly,
Ran great.
I never noticed any real issues with frame rate. Um, the game looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
The loads are like there's always going to be those kind of like what do they call them? It's like integrated loading where it's like, oh, you're taking the elevator. You really know why it's there. It's loading up the next area.
Yeah.
But the immersion's never broken.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I
it
haven't
seems
noticed
like
any
they're-
performance issues on the regular PS4.
Like even the transition from cutscene into gameplay is so smooth.
Yeah.
Like it takes a tiny bit of a graphical downgrade, and you can kind of tell, but it's so minuscule. I only imagine on the PS4 Pro it's even better.
Yeah, I do want to play it. I'm gonna wait till it comes out because it should be out what in the next couple weeks,
April 10th.
so about a month.
Good Friday.
Okay.
Before-
Yeah, I'm gonna wait, but I'm gonna get it on the PS4 Pro because I do want to see it in 4K. I mean, it is absolutely gorgeous just on base PS4, and I didn't notice any performance issues either. But it is a demo.
I would say the only con I had was
Sometimes they make the demos run a little bit better. You know what I mean?
that camera. The camera gets a little finicky here and there.
Didn't like the camera.
Quarters.
I would say that's probably the worst part about the
When you're-
experience was the camera.
When you're in close quarters, and I mean, the fact is, like, this area of the game is definitely very close quarter combat. It's the whole idea. But, like, later in the game, even later in Midgar, like in the train yard, when you get into, like, the slums, it gets more open. So I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt to see what that camera is like in a more open space. Because
I just had a problem with it, like switching characters. It would just be like on the side of the character, and then you would have to manually turn the camera. And I didn't change any sensitivity, so it's like a slow pan.
I wish there was a setting to set the lock on to be auto lock on. So when I get into a combat, it immediately locks on, and then I can turn it off if I want to. There was no setting for that specifically. It's such a like little thing, but
I don't mind that too much.
It's a little quality
rather
of
it
life.
the other way.
I did check through the menus. I looked at things like in classic Final Fantasy tradition, there's the ability to have it memorize where your cursor was last, or to have it reset. So if you know that you use, like when you go into the shortcuts and you're going to be spamming potions, you can set it to remember. So anytime you open up the abilities with your X button, it'll already be set on items, and when you click into that menu, it's already going to be set on potions.
Mm-hmm. You know what it kind of reminds me of?
Speedrunning.
This is why I think I'm so pumped on it. It reminds me of Nier a lot. Like the way the combat works and the way that it's kind of like this half turn-based, half real-time combat system. It kind of feels a lot like Nier. And, I mean, that's awesome, you know?
The shortcuts are definitely from, say, like I'm used to them from things like Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
I'm used to pressing L1 and having my shortcuts there.
And then freeze everything.
You can customize your shortcuts, or you can freeze time by pressing the X button.
That's what I was doing.
I did not play on the classic mode because classic mode said in the fine print it has the same difficulty as easy, and I ain't no bitch.
Oh, well, so what is the classic mode compared to easy?
I think essentially in combat, it's always going to slow down while you choose things.
Oh, like a turn-based system?
To make it more turn-based.
Oh, okay.
Instead of where the only time this game ever really feels like turn-based during the actual combat, like the combat mechanics they made for it, is when you press that X button.
Yeah.
You don't have to ever press that if you set your shortcuts to things you want and you go into the menu and set them. But, and I don't know how limit breaks work. In the terms and like the sense of, I don't know how much damage you really need to accrue, because I only got one limit break in the boss fight. And that was because I was mainly playing as Barret.
Mm-hmm. I got two. I got one with Cloud, one with Barret. And I don't know either. But, so that, leading into combat, that is easily the best part of the demo. It really showcases, like, they really want you to take advantage of the real time and to string in combos and to utilize your party members and to string their abilities in, and it just becomes like this super addicting gameplay loop. And I just can't wait for it to be released so I can fight more enemies and get more abilities and more weapons and, you know, just see all the different types of combos that you can do. Because I was having a blast like shooting a dude up in the air with Cloud and then following through with the thruster and then switching over to Barrett and then plowing the dude in the air with the machine gun. I mean, it's just so fucking fun, man.
Did you notice at any point, I think it was against the mono, God, what were the mono things? Like the little like floaty ball guys?
Yeah.
That if there was one in the air and I went to attack with Cloud, he would just teleport into the air,
Oh, really?
attack, and then fall back down.
Oh, really? I didn't notice that.
It was weird. It was so weird looking because like
Is he like trying to like shoot him up with the sword and then attack him?
No, like he would be up in the air. The camera wouldn't pan upwards. It would just be there. So like there's no character or monster in my field of view because Cloud like teleports up, attacks, then falls back down.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
It looked really kind of janky. Like it was a little weird.
I couldn't attack them with Cloud. I could only attack them with Barrett, from what I remember.
That's the sentries. Those are like the guns that are sitting there.
Yeah.
There's these little like mono beast things that have very little HP, but there's like a bunch of them.
So Cloud can
They're
just
like
jump up.
Like the red and green, like.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You could fight them with Cloud. They didn't move up in the air. They're on the ground. But for some reason, I guess maybe they're so light that one of his attacks, when I'm in the Punisher mode, might send them skyrocketing up. Then he might follow it with a combo. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait for this game to be released. It's just like a nice feel. Like, I know Jerry hates these remakes, but I'm digging them. Like the Resident Evil 2 remake was so sick. This one I'm so excited for. Because like I haven't played this story, and I'm not the kind of guy who plays Final Fantasy 7. Like I don't have it on every system. I haven't played Final Fantasy maybe since Final Fantasy 10.
Okay, so here's my entire thing: is this game actually does look good? Why the fuck couldn't you have just made a new game?
Yeah, I mean, I completely get that.
Like, imagine this, but it's actually in a cyberpunk world with an interesting story and not a fucking 15-year-old edgelord kid who looks like a David Bowie ripoff.
Yeah, they tried that with 13. That game sucked.
And he is edgelord.
That game sucked.
He is edgelord, but I will say I hate a lot of Japanese games just for their story mainly. I wasn't mad about how they were portraying Barrett and how they portray Cloud. Like, it does feel pretty real. It doesn't feel like straight ripoff from like the tropes that you get in every JRPG. It's kind of tropey, but it's not as bad as fucking like DBZ.
I'm talking to a friend of mine the last couple days, and he's trying to host a JRPG podcast. I told him I was interested. I think you would hate that podcast.
Oh my god, you should bring me on just so I can shit on everything you guys talk about.
But like I said,
but you know what I mean.
The FF7 remake, it's from everything I'm hearing as well about future chapters in the story. It's really less of a remake and more of just a complete reimagining.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe that I get. It is still the same story.
I think the very beginning cutscene where you hear the classic opening bombing mission start to play, and then out of nowhere it cuts into some of the Advent Children version of One Winged Angel with the Latin vocals, which is weird that they're using like the Advent Children version, which is the sequel movie to Final Fantasy VII. So I'm wondering how far is this project? Are we doing just the base game, or are we going to explore other things? There's the reference to Avalanche that was the group before Barrett, because Barrett, in Final Fantasy VII lore, Barrett's Avalanche is actually the second version of Avalanche. In the Before Crisis mobile game, Avalanche was actually formed in Cosmo Canyon, and they were a terroristic group.
Yeah,
but they had extreme measures, like trying to destroy the planet. But like,
I'm more curious how much of the game we're getting in the release. I don't like this chapter thing.
It's only going to be Midgar.
Well, I'm wondering how long that is.
So from
only Midgar doesn't make sense in a reimagining. I mean, that could be a 40-hour game. You know, it could be a 10-hour game. I don't know exactly the length. Like, how much content does that come with?
From what I'm hearing, a lot of stuff is
this demo was almost like a straight take from the original, where you go, you plant the bomb, and then you run out, and it's around the same time, about an hour.
So chapter, from what I'm hearing, chapter 2 is that next part where it's like the scene where you bump into Eris. She sells you the flower. You fight a bunch of Shinra guys, and you jump on a train.
Yeah.
But it's actually a lot more than that as the full chapter, because you now explore Midgar. You get to walk through the streets. You get to see how the terroristic action that you've just taken of blowing up a reactor actually affects people's lives. There are people who are hurt. There are people who are without power. Then there's some other changes I've heard that I won't spoil, but some characters show up that really shouldn't be there that early.
Well, you should spoil it because I'm curious. Just spoil alert for anyone that doesn't want to know. Yeah. Turn off for about 10 minutes.
Turn off so you don't hear your spoilers for a game from 1997.
As early as chapter 2, Sephiroth shows up. Why? He shows up and he shows up and Cloud freaks out and it's like, you're not real, and he's just like, I'm real. This is happening.
So this is from the leaks that you read.
These are from some of the pre.
You couldn't help yourself.
No, it was some of the previews that people are putting out there. So that's not part of an NDA. People are able to talk about that.
How are they getting these previews?
The Game Explain guys, I watched their video. They got flown out last second to play essentially 4-hour demo of Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 10. And I think one other chapter.
And this is all getting released. No, this is not all getting released in the final game, is it?
Well, Chapter 10, according to them, was the boss fight right after Cornero Mansion in Wall Street. So, I mean, that's Chapter 10. So in the original game, when you do the whole cross-dressing section to save Tifa from Don Cornero's mansion, he drops you into the sewer and you fight this giant, like, sewer boss. That's Chapter 10. If you remember the base game, like, I think they even said Chapter 7, I think it was Chapter 7 is the second attack on the reactor.
Yeah,
that's... You go back and remember, like, that feels like it's like the second thing you do in that game.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So how is that Chapter 7?
So it looks like...
Defining chapters.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like, and then I learned that.
I'm curious.
How are we defining chapters? Since this is also the other part that triggers me to no end. Is this is a fucking episodic release?
I know.
So that has always been the word chapter to me is always, and in an episodic game has been Chapter 1's the first game that comes out.
Right.
So how is these chapters being defined? Why are they calling it chapters? Choose a different term.
Because those are episodes. Chapters are in the episodes.
So there's Chapter 10 will be in
They didn't call it Half-Life 2 Chapter 2. They called it Half-Life 2 Episode 2. Okay?
Dude, you're killing me. You're like just killing me.
Was it Life is Strange Chapter 2? No, that was Episode 2 as well.
Yes, it was Episode 2.
I imagine chapters are just like the main story beats, like after each main story beat.
Right.
So, if I had to guess, if Chapter 10 is that fight, there's probably maybe 15 to 16 chapters, I would say.
I mean, it doesn't even matter. We have no idea.
But then again, I played Judgment. Judgment's Chapter 12, the last chapter before finale, is literally a 5-minute cutscene.
Yeah, it doesn't. It literally doesn't matter. I'm more curious how much we're getting in Episode 1, the first game, the first time you buy the game.
If I had to guess its total playtime, and I'm giving it a very casual playtime, I would say between 25 to 30 hours max. Mm-hmm. That's very casually. If I had to guess what the speedrun's probably going to wind up being, I wouldn't be surprised if this turns out to be like a 6-hour speedrun.
Speedrun. This guy.
No, man. Gotta go fast.
Don't worry, you can't speedrun it for 5 years before the final game's actually fucking out.
I can speedrun the demo.
Yeah, and so right now this year you can speedrun
the
demo in Episode 1, which you guys already want to give Game of the Year, and the next year you can do it for 2, which you'll give Game of the Year, and then the year
this is going to be Game of the Decade.
It's just a new game for 10 years.
A new Final Fantasy episode chapter released every year.
I have another question. You think this will be on PS5?
So actually, we're gonna get to the news.
It better if it's on this stupid release schedule.
We get into the news. Actually, there is a report that they're not going to be developing any games for next gen exclusives because of backwards compatibility. They want to maximize sales by selling to both PS4 and PS5 owners.
So this full game should be out by the end of next gen, essentially.
It should definitely be out by the end of PS5's gen.
No. PS4.
PS4?
8 years.
I
This
would
game
hope
will
so.
finally, hopefully, be finished.
They did also say, and it's in the news as well, but we're going to talk about it now anyway.
So you buy PS5, you will not be able to play this game on it.
You'll be able to play it on there.
Oh, it is backwards
PS5
compatible?
is backwards compatible with PS4.
Oh, okay.
That's confirmed as far as I know. And of course, it's a yearly.
It has to be, dude.
a
You have
yearly-
a new release coming out at the end of the year for a console, and you're releasing a game then that's episodic. It has to be.
It's also a 1 year limited release. Like what do you call it? Limited exclusivity. So after a year, it'll be on Xbox, and I wouldn't be shocked if it comes to PC.
I
But
would be
in a
shocked.
year from April, it will be on Xbox, just like Kingdom Hearts was.
Oh, right.
Comes out first on PS4, which we kind of knew because that was announced a while back, where it was like play first on PS4, but nobody talked about it. But we all kind of saw that text and went, "Okay."
See, this is kind of what I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in all the other bullshit around this game, and I kind of just want the game to be released. You know what I mean? Like, I
See,
just want the full
they're gonna
game
sell
out
you-
and
they're
just
gonna
stop
sell
with the
you-
bullshit because it's so fucking fun. Just the hour demo got me so pumped up because I was just
They're
like,
gonna-
looks cool, but you know, I could do without it. After
I'm
playing
gonna-
that
I'm
demo,
gonna call
I am so pumped.
I'm gonna call it the first title they make for PS5 that is exclusive to PS5 will be the complete collection of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
All right, you heard it here. One of Doobie's predictions. Doobie, you're pretty
It'll
good at these
be-
predictions.
And it'll be $120.
I don't know about all that, but you have been pretty good at predictions, so you heard it here.
It
Episode
will take up your entire SSD.
March
and
3rd episode.
You'll have to buy it. It won't even come in physical. It'll come in as a special edition external SSD that just has the game.
Oh my god, I might have
That's
to
the
turn this
bullshit
off.
I expect.
That's physical.
It's
That's
no, it is-
physical.
I mean,
If you're getting an SSD with a game on it, that's literally a game cartridge. That's physical.
Yeah, that
That
would be
is true,
if
actually.
it comes with
Imagine-
art.
It's just the next generation of physical, dude. But you're safe. You're safe.
dude, oh man, we're gonna move to SSD.
Doobie is just
external drives
Doobie's just
as
addicted to
games.
CDs. You're just addicted to CDs. That's all. The seduction of the CD drive.
I
the
mean,
optical
they're shaped
drive.
like donuts.
Dude, that's
can't help
actually what I want. I want Final Fantasy VII released on 8,800 different CDs that you have to load in every 3 minutes.
No, please, God, don't
Oh
do
my
that.
god, dude! Any game that requires you to actually change-
700 megabyte
No.
limit.
any game that requires you to change CDs repeatedly between areas can fuck off. Star Ocean 4 did that, and I hated that game.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fine with, like, oh, it's the next part of the game, load up disc 2.
No,
But
I'm
no,
not fine
this
with
was
that.
literally, oh, you want to go back to that area? Put in disc 1.
All right. Well, final thoughts. Are you pumped, Doobie?
I'm excited. I enjoyed what I played, and I want to play more.
Me too. Me too. I'm excited.
It definitely kind of like getting a hands on for the combat definitely helps.
Yeah, and just seeing the characters interacting and the way the game feels.
Oh, and the music is
Because like I think of Final
getting
Fantasy
fucking
like
music up.
yeah, I think of Final Fantasy and like the last one I played was I believe was 10, and it was a very different experience than this. Like
I would argue
this reminds
that-
me a lot like Nier, and like
I
you
would-
guys know I love Nier.
I would argue Final Fantasy X was the last great Final Fantasy.
Oh, it was great. It was also
I
pretty.
love
long.
that game. It's also very linear, which, you know,
What, is
nobody
it?
says. 10 is extremely linear.
I'm trying to remember.
You don't get
It's been
open
so
world.
long.
You don't get the semblance of open world until you get the airship like 30 hours into the game.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
And Final Fantasy 13 was just as linear, and everyone went, "Oh no, this game is so linear, it's so bad." Oh, but 10 was linear, and you didn't have a problem with that.
Are we gonna
It's-
get a
it's just-
10
it's
remake?
just
Final Fantasy 10 remake?
No, we don't need that.
No, because it's already been remade. It was remade like 3 years ago. No one cared.
Funny enough,
Was
talking
it?
about Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy, it got a remaster.
It got a remaster, yeah.
They got an HD remaster. But the funny thing is, a lot of people believe that the world of Final Fantasy X is actually the same world as Final Fantasy VII, but set thousands of years in the future. That's a theory.
Do you think that theory checks out? Oh, this is the boss fight, by the
No,
way.
absolutely not. Where's the live stream if that is the case?
All right, next. You've been playing Halo? How's that on PC, Master Chief?
It literally came out just a few hours ago. Yeah, the Halo 1 Master Chief Collection PC version just got released like a couple hours ago. So if you own Master Chief Collection, go download that. It's like a 6 gig install. It looks nice. I played the first level, Pillar of Autumn, on Heroic. I didn't go for Legendary immediately. And I breezed right through it. Like, I remember that game like the back of my hand. It's one of my favorite shooters of all time. I'm excited to try out the multiplayer because everyone knows that Halo 1 pistols are broken.
Do you think they fixed them, or are they the same?
Is there any new
playing
games that were
Heroic.
released?
Playing
Wilson. You can play Wilson, even though it's broken.
playing Heroic, they did not feel like they were fixed. I was pretty much just headshotting elites, like 6 shots dead.
Yeah, I don't. Halo is not a game that. After that, what was the Halo that came out? The one that came out recently on PC.
Well, Master Chief Collection came out, which was Halo Reach.
Halo Reach.
And now Halo 1, and now they're going to go through the next couple months.
It was bad. I didn't like it. I didn't like
Halo. I loved Halo Reach. I think Halo Reach was the last actually good Halo game. I hated Halo 4.
Just from the multiplayer, it just didn't feel good.
Yeah, Halo Reach's multiplayer is the one that like adds in a lot of these like abilities, like cloaking and.
Well,
like,
yeah, because that was the
jetpacks.
one where you're like a Spartan trainee, so they actually built classes.
Yeah. There's classes. There's like these loadouts. I prefer Halo 3, which is
The sound is never fixed. They never fixed the audio in it.
Yeah, that was a problem even on the Xbox version of the Master Chief Collection.
Oh, really?
Unfortunately, 343, as much as they try, I almost wish that Bungie would give up on Destiny and come back to Halo.
Yeah.
I too wish they would give up on Destiny because it's.
Yeah,
I tried playing it a couple of weeks ago, and I mean now it's so convoluted, but it's doing pretty well. Oh, sorry guys.
And yet the people that like love Destiny will not. They just will not accept that its failures. They will defend it to death.
Well, it sells well. Like there's a lot of people playing it. It does well on Twitch.
It's because every time they release a new content, Destiny is actually a great game for 5 days.
Yeah.
And it's always on super cheap sale. Like I remember when Destiny
free
1
now.
was
You can get
Destiny
you can
2 is
get
free. That's also a thing.
Oh yeah.
But like when Destiny 1 before that was even free, like you could get used copies for like $5.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't.
If I want to look back on what the trade-in value of Destiny 1 is, I actually don't even think it's acceptable. I don't even think they give you money anymore for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest.
GameStop only gives you money for phones nowadays.
Yeah, that's right.
And
When they're
old
not-
controllers.
When they're not firing managers.
Yeah, I'm curious to know because there's a GameStop near me. I'm curious to know what a trade-in is for like a new phone.
Oh, phone, I have no idea. But
I wonder if they rip you
I
off
would
as much as they
definitely-
rip you off with games. Like I wonder if it's like
I would
ridiculously
believe
low.
so. I would not be surprised if you got max 30% of what it's worth originally was.
But see, then they're competing with like pawn shops, and pawn shops do a pretty good job of giving you your money's worth for your. I mean, it's not good, but
you remember, you get
not as
more
bad as
money.
GameStop.
You get more money in credit than you do cash. They actually give you less cash.
right.
Whereas a pawn shop is literally just cash.
No, you could pawn it. It's technically credit,
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah.
They'll give you more
stores,
pawn.
credit. More pawn.
Pawn shops are big in Philly, man.
Do
Cash
you know
your
a
check.
guy? Do you know a guy?
Yeah.
You gonna be a pawn star?
No, that life is not for me, man. Living behind bulletproof glass all day? Nope. No, thank you.
You don't want to pay $60,000 for a box of JFK cigars?
I am surprised you don't hear more stories of like GameStop's getting robbed for all their cash.
Oh, they've been robbed plenty of time. There's so many,
Yeah.
so many attempted, and just because there's so like dealing with that customer base. I've heard the horror stories of GameStop because people threaten you depending on the location, of course. But like people getting ripped on their trades, people stealing systems and coming in to try to pawn, essentially, trade in a stolen system.
Mm-hmm.
People with the refunds. So like GameStop has that policy. As soon as you open the game, as soon as you open the cellophane, you cannot return that game unless it's defective, in which case you get another copy of the game. So as soon as you open that packaging and you go, oh wait, hold on, I need to return this. They're like, no, we can only give you cash. Like we can only do your trade-in policy, which is garbage. Or
is it though? I mean, that's pretty standard.
You bought that $60 game, and you want to, but that's the thing, is it's standard, but people are dumb and people don't listen and people get angry.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things because like when Nintendo released the 3DS XL, they shipped those without power adapters. That's what they did to save money. And GameStop wouldn't take a trade-in of those systems without a power adapter. So you had to buy a power adapter from them and then include it in your trade-in. And that pissed a lot of people off. And some people, when they get mad, they just pull a gun.
Yeah. Oh, I imagine.
Or they trash the store.
Well, that's why like pawn shops, because there's so much cash there. It's like pawn shops, they have bulletproof glass, at least in Philly.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. You're not breaking in there. There's a guy there with a gun. There's not a GameStop. There's like a skinny little teen behind the register, and he's gonna give you all their cash.
And to be fair, the guy behind the bulletproof glass, if you start trying to trash the place, will probably shoot you.
Yeah. Not at a GameStop. There is no guy.
GameStop's not supplying their employees with guns.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's pretty dangerous for a GameStop employee to be dealing like that. Like, it's basically a pawn shop. It's no different.
Like you imagine,
they sell new games.
You imagine the release of system release day. You've got 50 PS5s come in. They're $500 a piece. Even if 4 people pay cash, you now have $2,000 sitting in that drawer.
Yeah.
That's a risk.
Yeah. Very big risk. Well, it won't be a risk much longer because they're not going to be around much longer.
No, they're going to be out of business.
All right. So you sent us a tweet from Chris Kohler, who is from Kotaku, you said?
He is the the features editor of Kotaku.
Wow, did that Final Fantasy VII Remake demo actually send my interest plummeting? I have basically zero idea how to play that first boss fight. A million interlocking systems all thrown at you at once. Make sure to attack, but also heal. But also you can heal, but also use magic. But also you can't use magic, but also make sure to stagger the enemy. But he also has a barrier, but also hide behind this debris. And, I mean, does the get good argument come into play here?
When Cloud literally starts off the boss fight by going, oh, it's got a tough outer shell, but its internals can be overloaded. Use lightning magic. Literally says, use lightning magic. The subtitles say, use lightning magic. And you sit there and go, I don't know how to fight this boss. You obviously don't have you obviously have either a hearing problem or a reading problem or both.
I think it's just not one of those guys that just are good at, games. He wants a more easy linear experience.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I played that boss fight. The boss fight's not super easy. It takes a while. It's a longer.
It's like a 10-minute fight, maybe. Maybe
yeah,
a little longer.
It's you whittling it down. You're trying to stagger it. You're using your magic.
He does a lot of damage.
It does a lot of damage. There's a lot of things to kind of juggle.
You also are equipped with like 30 potions.
You are equipped with 30 potions. You get at least 4 Phoenix Downs. You have at least 3 Ethers. You have
now a magic bar that automatically fills,
I mean, this isn't as bad as the infamous Cuphead tutorial.
Yeah.
But it's still, like...
It's up there.
The game tells you what to do. Like, it specifically tells you what to do.
I see what he means. Like, it is a little complex, but it's not...
Yeah.
You just gotta learn it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like any other game. There's some systems. It's not overly complex.
from what I hear, the experience you get from fighting enemies is pretty small, and leveling up really doesn't do a whole lot besides probably just buff up your numbers a little bit. It really is going to be a game that actually tasks you to understand how to play it.
Yeah, thank God.
Like a Sekiro.
So not an RPG.
With RPG elements, that is a weird part to me. It is very interesting.
Fundamental JRPG, and now it's Sekiro.
Yeah.
What?
No, I'm telling you, it's more like Nier. It's a lot more like Nier.
Yeah, more like Nier.
But even then, like that is a massive shift from what that game was.
Yeah, it is.
That's why it's less of a remake and more of a reimagining. Like even the core mechanics of gameplay are not your turn based. It's not like they did a nice job of incorporating a lot of the things that are in that turn based combat into a new combat system, like magic.
But you can dodge now. You can dodge. You can block. You have to take into account movement, and it's not just you're gonna get hit. You're gonna do this amount of damage.
It's almost like it reminds me a little bit of like the Xenoblade, actually, the Xenoblade combat system, where your light attacks, you're doing them, but they're not really doing that much damage. You're kind of doing them to build up that ATB bar.
Yeah.
And Xenoblade's like that, where it has essentially it's an auto combat, so you just immediately enter combat and you start swinging. But what you're doing that for is so that you build up a meter that you then spend.
The real combat is in like the skills that you deploy.
Yeah, which is very much like a Xenoblade. So I almost think if you like that kind of style of combat, where Xenoblade doesn't have dodge rolling and blocking like that, but it's that open world kind of combat. If you like
secure, I would say, all right, if you like a game that what's a easy combat game? I don't know. That's not what this is, because it is a little bit more complex.
You want a button masher, like just a simple beat 'em up?
Yeah,
game?
This isn't a button masher. So maybe
no, you're not gonna get by just mashing the light attack button and never doing your ATBs. Like
this guy writes, Pitmaster writes, if the demo is that hard for you, please avoid complex activities in real life like driving, walking, breathing simultaneously, or dancing. Those also might be too difficult for you to reasonably handle. There you go, Broda. Interesting. Yeah. They should have made a journalist mode. Yeah. And then someone posted the Cuphead tutorial there. Or the Cuphead intro. Like, the guy doesn't know how to jump. I forgot about that. That is pretty bad.
That is the infamous Cuphead tutorial.
He doesn't even know how to jump, dude. He's just running back and forth.
Jump, dash. You were supposed to jump to get to that ledge, and you jump again and dash. And the guy just sits there jumping like from the ground and not using the I don't get it.
Yeah, man. Hey, maybe it's time to pick a new industry. All right. More news. Final Fantasy remakes won't impact the release of Part 2. So it got delayed, and it is not going to delay Part 2 as they're saying now. So maybe Part 2 is done.
I probably what I'm thinking of is the future games that they're making aren't going to be as long of a wait, because they've already essentially, since they're not making these on PS5 exclusive, they already have the framework done for the character models, a lot of the the mechanics. Now it just becomes creating the additional character models, creating the additional environments. But they're not starting from the ground up. They've got a system already built. Now they're just building upon that system. So the turnaround should be shorter.
Does it say Part 2? Is this supposed to be Episode 2, or is this Part 2, Episode 1?
That would be Episode 2. This is Part 1. I don't
like that.
Part
an
episode, like chapter, segment.
How many parts?
Yeah.
We're just going to go off of the how many ounces to pounds to grams. None of it makes any sense.
Well, 16 ounces.
Grams make sense.
Pound.
But ounces and pounds can screw off.
It's 16.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to remember.
I know. But the fact that it's not like grams. Decagrams, kilograms.
Yeah.
Decasystem's better. That's all I'm saying.
Which is metric.
Yeah, metric is better.
No, I agree. But I'm saying you can remember it. Yeah.
At this point,
just how many parts? That's all I want to know.
We all want to know that. Speculation is 3, but I think it'll be at least 4.
At least 4.
If this wins 4 Game of the Years, I'm gonna fucking kill myself.
No, it'll win 5 because remember that 5th one will be the collector's edition of Complete Edition,
And there will be a remake on the collector's edition as well. All right, Nintendo linked to Chinese forced labor camps. We already talked about the backwards compatibility. Nintendo linked to Chinese forced labor camps alongside Sony, Microsoft, and others.
So it's not that they're linked to the camps; it's their supply chains that they use.
They're linked. Then
Which
they're
makes
linked.
them linked.
They're linked. If your supply chain is linked to it, you are
bad.
linked. If you're using that supply chain.
Yeah, it's bad. There's a lot of companies involved in this.
Look, it's not just gaming, it's not just tech. It's every industry that utilizes Chinese workforce. They're going to be linked to forced labor camps. It's just that the Chinese government is so bad at portraying that information. They actively hide it from you. You might not even know. You might try your best to not use it, and they're gonna lie to you. They're gonna cheat you out. That's how they make. That's so much of their economy is based on this cheap labor.
And it's not even forced labor camps. Like according to the report, the people who lived in segregated dormitories undergo organized Mandarin and ideological training.
Wow.
Like that's just like brainwashing the forced labor.
Yeah.
That is
that's like part of like the
real ethics violations.
Yeah, that's like from that Matrix reanimated thing. That's what that reminds me of, where they were drinking the people. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah,
it's crazy. It is crazy.
It's messed up. I mean,
Yeah. Are people gonna the only way? Are people gonna boycott these companies? Are companies gonna boycott these labor camps? Like, it's the only way you'll be able to ever fix that.
And so many companies you have to boycott because let's be honest,
they have to be a complete reimagining.
They all use a lot of the same supply chains. So you have to know.
The entire world economy would have to change in order for this to not.
Yeah, like look at like Nintendo and Apple both were using the same manufacturer of screens.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it just goes so far. It's so deep seated and it sucks. But if you care about something like this, you gotta try your best to find someone that doesn't utilize any Chinese production. Otherwise, they're going to be getting it from somewhere. Yeah.
Because if you
you don't even know because like I said, they lie all the time. It's just part of
and if you do find somebody that says, "Oh, we're making our product in the United States of America," have fun paying 10 times more for it.
Yeah, well, that's
who was the last company who kept saying that's made in America and it really just meant assembled?
Who?
I don't know. I'm asking. I think didn't Apple get in trouble with that? Hasn't there been many companies in the last couple of years that have gotten in trouble with made in America, but really just meant we assembled the computer in America?
They don't make anything.
I still find it hilarious that Ford, a lot of unions promote Ford because they're an American company, yet their biggest plants and assemblies are all in Mexico.
Oh yeah, no, all of them, dude, all of them. Like, if you actually go by the amount of cars made in the U.S., guess who was number one?
Toyota,
Honda.
Yeah, Honda.
It was one of the Japanese companies because I know Toyota, Nissan, and Honda all have a bunch of plants in America.
Yep, but no, don't worry. If you go back up to Michigan, they'll still hate you. You got to go buy the Mexi-built Ford.
Yeah. Because unions say that Ford is American supported. That's why a lot of unions push forward that their employees all have to own Fords.
And just even the plants in Mexico, how many of those plants are getting materials from China? You know what I mean? Like, it's just.
Oh, exactly.
It's just you would have to completely rework the entire industry of the world for any of this to change. That it's all rooted in cheap Chinese workforce.
Coronavirus does it for us.
Well, that's why it's been such a devastating thing. It's just putting a halt on everything. All right.
That's why the Dow drops over 2,000 points.
Yeah. No.
Whatever it was.
No,
so it dropped how much?
It was because of the Democratic debates.
Oh yeah, no, totally because of Bernie. Not because global economies are going to suffer with a virus.
E3 2020 is going ahead in June despite coronavirus concerns.
While we're on the topic.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm actually interested to see how long that stays that way because so obviously I'm very big into the sports world. That's my other half job is watching the worst hockey team ever made.
I'm wondering what the Olympics are going to do.
The Olympics might get canceled, but
they have 2 months to make a decision.
there's that, but dude, there's so many countries that
Is
are
the
now
World
just
Cup-
banning.
Is the World Cup this year?
I don't think so. I think that was
That'll
2
be
years ago.
2022.
Yeah, I think that was 2 years ago.
It's every 4 years, but
Right, so I don't think
I
it's
mean,
this year.
still, I mean, even just football in Europe, like.
Well, no,
just soccer in Europe
Europe soccer, yeah, football, soccer in Europe's being
MLB,
getting fucked.
the MLB came out
Hockey,
today.
there's a Swiss league that is near. I mean, it's Switzerland. They actually completely stopped letting audience go to games. They're playing games in an empty stadium.
That's crazy.
And then also a lot of the junior events for international hockey this year have already been canceled.
MLB has already told its players to not sign or take any objects from fans and autograph.
I mean,
Yeah, like there's been other people coming out basically saying like sports are going to really have to start watching this because a lot of that's the shitty part is there's a lot of playoffs coming
You remember
up,
Space Jam?
You have basketball and hockey playoffs coming up, and people are seriously wondering like we might have to delay them.
Yeah.
Or like just play it without an audience.
You remember Space
That
Jam?
would be insane if there was a playoff with no people in the stadium, no cheering. It's just silent, just their feet squeaking against the wood. That would be nuts.
There's no music playing whatsoever because there's no crowd to entertain. Why would you play music?
Yeah, I mean, it would just be so weird. It'd be like the
Tonight's
Twilight
raffle 50-50 is up to a grand total of $0.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, a lot of these companies like E3 are probably just saying this just because they don't have a position on yet.
I wonder how long it's going to go until it's not E3, but like when the companies that have already pulled out of E3 regardless of this now begin to also pull out because it's like GDC got postponed.
Thank you, Grocery, for the sub, brother.
A lot of companies have already said even though GDC is postponed, even if it happens, they're not going.
Yeah.
If enough places pull out, and like Nintendo could easily go, hey, instead of risking our employees, we'll just do our usual video presentation, and then we'll do like a stream from our headquarters where we demonstrate games. We don't have to go anywhere. We don't have to risk people's health or our employees' health, and we can still get information to the consumer.
Yeah. I mean, it just it doesn't make much sense. I mean, imagine if the Olympics are canceled, but E3 still goes on. Like, it's just backwards. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see this. I don't see this going to be.
E3 isn't the event it used to be. That was like a lot of game journalists coming from around the world. Now it's a lot of consumers.
Yeah, so it's not what it used to
be. They want the money. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Paul Anderson, director of Mortal Kombat and Resident Evil films, presents a new poster for the Monster Hunter film starring known video game movie actress Mila Jovovich. Mila Jovovich? Or Mila Djokovic?
Jovovich.
I mean...
Jovovich.
She was okay in Resident Evil, but like Monster Hunter? What? It doesn't kind of make sense to me.
I mean, Resident Evil 1 was a good movie, but like all the other ones were not good. So this is gonna be a flop.
Yeah, Monster Hunter as
I'm calling it now. This is gonna be a flop.
Like the whole part of Monster Hunter that makes it cool is like you craft from the monster. How do you translate that into a movie?
Like Monster Hunter, like even the last one like had some kind of story elements, but it was not why you were playing the game.
We're getting a lot of these gaming movies recently.
Like
it's like gaming
Detective
content.
Pikachu and Sonic were okay. This feels like a bad idea. Hopefully the Mortal Kombat movie is good because it got the R rating, so it's gonna be pretty. I'm assuming gory. But
it's just gonna be Redemption all over again, dude.
If it's Armageddon all over again,
it's Armageddon, dude. It's Mortal Kombat 17, Armageddon Redemption.
I kind of wouldn't mind that too much if it was like a shitty Mortal Kombat.
They should have made that Mortal Kombat movie that they were teasing with Michael Jai White. That would have been so good. Because it was supposed to be like a gritty, realistic Mortal Kombat.
Oh yeah, yeah, dude.
That
was always gonna work.
It would have been interesting, and Michael Jai White's a great actor.
How do you do a realistic Sub-Zero?
Like, yeah, it's like yes, the great realistic Mortal Kombat.
How do you do a realistic Raiden, who is literally a god?
Yeah, an Uncharted movie just got a new director, I think, right?
Well, see that I can see because it's an actual movie that you're playing. You know what I mean? Like it's just a linear movie.
And was it Tom Holland is playing Nathan Drake, I think.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
I think it's like it's supposed to be like a young Nathan Drake, like very like the origin story of Nathan Drake. So.
I like Tom Holland, dude.
I
saw
can't
that
hate Tom
Superman.
Holland.
Still think Nathan Fillion should play Nathan Drake, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah,
He looks just like him.
He does. But Tom
He's a
Holland's
good
cool.
actor. Peter Jackson Zelda movie. I would pay to see that. Actually, I don't know. After The Hobbit, I might not pay to see that.
I would pay to see that. That would be.
He would find a
great.
way to turn the Zelda series into a trilogy, which we don't need.
We got more GameStop news. GameStop has laid off a number of district managers in order to cut costs. Jesus.
GameStop,
Just cut your losses, man. Cut
Just
your losses,
close.
guys.
Just close.
Yeah.
Just go out of business already and save us all the trouble.
Is GameStop public? I don't think they're public.
I don't even know.
I can't imagine they're public.
What's GameStop stock? Oh, it's down.
They are a public company?
I just looked up GameStop Corp stock.
Yeah, they are. They are NYSE.
They're public. Okay.
Who knew?
They are down to 3.63 USD.
They're not doing good.
What's their
Dude.
lowest?
They're not doing good.
Their lowest was 3.5 back in.
They're down 5% in just the last
earlier
6
today.
months. And they're
Yeah.
down. Yeah, that's not.
Oh man, look at that year to date. Whew.
Yeah. Wow, they were peaking at. Let's see what they were peaking at. They were peaking at around like $60 a share at one point. Now they're gonna
They were
be.
peaking. That was back in like 08.
Hey, you never know. They might
peaked again to like 50.
They might rebrand because they're public, right? They might rebrand and then make some money. So they could be a cheap stock to buy if you're trying to get
in
into some
6
penny
years.
stocks.
They went in 6 years. They went from $55.48 to right now $3.63.
Oh yeah, no, it's
What
it's
a
not
crash!
good. It's not good.
God.
But like I said, you never know. GameStop could rebrand. They have a bunch of stores. They have a bunch of employees. They could rebrand tomorrow as like a fucking home goods store, and then you got a stock that goes up, $10, and then you could make a good amount of money there. And you picked up a penny stock. Little tip if you guys are having some balls. Anyone in the chat have some balls? Buy some GameStop stock. Let us know how it goes.
Tell us how much you lost in 6 months.
I'm not gonna take that bet, but. Hey man, it could be worth it. You never know.
Get that medical mask money.
All right,
Fujifilm, dude. Fujifilm or bust.
there you go. Are you getting some Fujifilm stock?
No, but I've been thinking about it.
Pick some up.
Real quick.
I think I missed that boat. I needed to do it before the announcements.
Yeah.
So yesterday was the 3rd anniversary of the Switch and Breath of the Wild.
3 years already?
Yep.
Wow. Where's time?
All right,
gone?
dude. It's time for Breath of the Wild remastered.
Yeah, we're getting Breath of the Wild too.
No, we're not, dude. We're getting reimagined Breath of the Wild. It's now actually just a regular Zelda game.
No, it's now called Zelda the Wild.
All right. In the tech, we only have a couple of things. The Verge put out this great video today where they took the Mac Pro and they gave it to a bunch of their creators in the Vox headquarters, and they have they do a lot of pro production like with Netflix, and they do pro podcasting, and they basically were like, is this useful to them at all in any way? And the answer is pretty much no. The answer was no. They had not much of a use for it, and it's not because of the sheer power of it. It's just basically because none of the Adobe software stuff is optimized for it, and the price that Apple is asking for it just doesn't utilize that stuff quite yet. But the biggest thing from the video was that a lot of them didn't like
NVIDIA
the monitor.
graphics cards.
Yeah, or lack thereof. But the monitor, a lot of them didn't like the monitor. They found the monitor to be just has bad viewing angles and just not quite that good to use. And I thought that was really interesting. So might be a few years before we see some Mac Pro adoption. 'Cause there's just no use for it right now. PC seems to be. I mean, this is what happens with Apple because they've neglected the pro market for so long. They got a lot of catching up to do in order to get back to that area where you're going to see Mac Pros everywhere. So it's interesting. Obviously, if you're using Final Cut or Affinity or any of the Apple optimized stuff, it's going to work a lot better. But right now, anything Adobe is just they're just like, and they have no plans. That was the other thing. They're basically, we don't even have any plans to optimize any of this. It just doesn't seem worth it.
It's that, and it's like no one still really knows what Apple is doing
Yeah.
with like the whole ARM rumors that have been going around for 3 years now or
True.
whatever. So it's like, why am I going to spend that much man hours optimizing Adobe when Apple might be also telling me, hey, we want an ARM version?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. And that's like my thing with Adobe is it is expensive. And I love Photoshop, I love Lightroom, I love Premiere, I love After, I love all the Adobe Suite stuff. But it is sort of janky, and I always run into weird issues. I don't have that with Resolve. I don't have that with Final Cut. Not in the way that Premiere and After Effects give me. And
Gotta get you on Capture One, son.
I'm gonna switch over everything eventually unless Adobe does start optimizing their stuff for everything, because like right now they want you to have a very specific setup, and it's not the best system right now. And they make a lot of money, so I'm curious as to why Adobe's just they're not focusing really anything on optimizing their software. It's really like they're just focusing on bringing new feature after new feature, which is cool to an extent, but I can't use a lot of these features. They just don't work. The fact that I can't make my Adobe preferences a different folder, so when I use OneDrive, which automatically syncs my documents folder, it sets my preferences for my one PC to all my PCs, and I constantly have to change it, and I have to fucking do all this weird shit to fucking run it the right way. And this is stuff that they've known, It's just they just have no plans on optimizing it. So the moral of the story is, if you're looking for a Mac Pro and you're doing any sort of content creation, it looks like the iMac is still the way to go for the value that you get. I mean, it works great. It's Mac, and it's going to run the stuff just fine. If you would really only need a Mac Pro, like there was one guy doing like computational stuff and certain sort of architecture rendering, and that seems to obviously work out well because it's got a nice beefy CPU. But even just anything else, iMac seems to be okay. And then, of course, you could just go to Windows and everything works good there. And then the other Apple rumor...
To an extent, because, again, going back to Adobe, they like, it's still taken now for 3 years for Adobe to finally sort of try to optimize for AMD.
For AMD, yeah.
Which, if you're building a PC, you're building AMD.
Yeah.
But Adobe still shit on it, but it's getting better slowly.
Yeah. Yeah. They are starting to look more AMD. They should, because like you said, anyone in creative work, they're going AMD because the Intel just has nothing right now. So, and I get it. Like if you're Adobe, it's annoying. You constantly have to tweak things, but you're making all this money. Just dedicate like an entire fucking wing to just making this shit work really well on any sort of architecture, and then you won't have people constantly emailing your support. All right, another thing is that Apple is working on 6 mini LED products, including new 14.1-inch MacBook Pro and refreshed iMac Pro. So we're going to be getting mini LED soon, not micro LED, mini LED, with some new Apple products in the future, which is going to look pretty cool. I'm very curious to see how this looks. I haven't seen a mini LED anything yet. I am very curious to see what benefits come of that. Yeah, I just don't know. I know it can get brighter. That's about it. With that, maybe better HDR, but who knows? And then finally, Robinhood was down and caused a big issue with Robinhood. If you're, in any financial industry and your stuff goes down and you deal with trading, that's time sensitive, especially when the market is in a downturn where people are trying to short or people are trying to buy things. It's not looking good. And then if you just look at the Twitter comments, I mean, people are just going crazy.
Well, it was also because it was on it was when it started going back up. So people are trying to sell.
Yeah.
And they literally crashed because of too much server usage.
Yeah, it doesn't breed much confidence. But you shouldn't be using Robinhood like that anyway. I like Robinhood when I need to just make an options buy on like one stock. If you're doing trading and you're doing it on Robinhood, what are you doing? That's not what it's for. It's meant to just be like a very casual consumer trading platform that you could do on your phone. It's not an E-Trade, It's not a legit trading platform. It's not meant for that. So I can see why people are upset. Maybe they didn't know that, but if you're watching this and you have a Robinhood and you plan on doing any day trading where you're making multiple trades a day, you're probably not even on Robinhood anyway. It's just, I found that really interesting that many people were affected. So that's pretty much it for tech. I didn't see much else tech news, did you?
Just XT4 stuff, but that's about all I've seen all week.
Are you still gonna get it?
Probably down the road.
What's the timeline? What's the timeline?
I mean, it doesn't come out for another couple of months, so I don't know.
You thinking release day?
Maybe probably not.
I'm gonna
We'll
try to
see.
convince you to get one on release day.
It depends, because right now what I'm doing is so since I'm in a college town and girls in theater world, everyone needs headshots. Everyone needs just random film and shit like that. So I'm just charging like $20 an hour.
Nice.
So we'll see how well I do with that, basically.
Nice. So maybe that'll pay for itself.
Yeah. That will basically tell me if I want to buy it sooner or later.
Yeah. 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 It's tough. Buying a new camera is tough because it is a hefty purchase. It's not one that you want to take lightly. All right. I think that's pretty much it. All right, everyone. We'll catch you guys next week, every Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, here on No Life Digital on Twitch, as well as on YouTube, No Life Digital. Hit up our website, nolife.digital. I did some tweaking. It works great on mobile now. You can sign up for our podcast there. You can check out our articles. You can watch our Twitch there. All the good stuff over on the website. And like I said, it works great on mobile because it was a little janky last time. But